We're gonna do a little bit different video today, so get a lot of questions on what I have going on in here, and it's changed quite a bit, so, and some more changes coming. But I figured what I could do is front to back full modification list on what makes this thing tick. So if you're interested, hang along. I'm gonna try to get underneath it as much as I can too, and we'll get started. All right, so let's start with the outside first. My favorite, Flat Hood Mafia. So I am starting to just get to be a cranky old man and don't like the turbo sticking out of the hood and all that kind of stuff. Sure, they technically meet street car class rules, but to me, a little more subtle is my style. And then I say subtle, but I have 28-inch tires front and rear. So front's like a 28 by 9, back's 28 by 10 and a half. Slightly taller in the front, 28.2, 28 in the back, because I have a 373 gear in the front and 370 in the back. So offsets that difference. So 15 by 10 inch wheels, front and rear. And right now it has fiberglass doors on it, but I have stock doors as well. And then right now it has stock hatch glass, but I have a fiberglass hatch that's probably going to go on since it's going to be a little bit more race car mode. Otherwise, it's stock, looks stock, and exterior wise, the only thing that's really sets things off is obviously the tires, side exits, got a eBay lip from a Mustang, and then continuing the Mustang thing, this is from a GT500 with 2 inches shaved out of the middle to fit on the stock hood line. Interior, more boring stuff, but 8.5 or an 850 cage, 10-point deal, Kirky seats, stock everything else. So stock dash, kept the stock trim for the shifter, and no HVAC. At some point may try to fit something back in here, but currently not. Seats have the lower seat, but have the back seats out just to help with getting to everything here. And flip around to the other side. Oh, even stock steering wheel. Fuel tech dash on the stock steering wheel. That little cruise control stock is now either rolling anti-lag or scramble button. Shifter is cool. It's one of my favorite things of the car. So 3-button deal. That's for the trans brake, that's for the bump, and this is a line lock. Water pump and fans, and then this is ground trigger for my front diff. Interior lighting, just did some LED stuff. Can change those. And let's go to the back. Then we'll pop the hood. So in the back, as much stock stuff as I could fit. I still need to, I don't know where I put these covers, but I need to put those back on. And battery shut off. I have a bar that just goes through here and comes out the reverse light. This is an excess power 14 volt battery, not 12 volt. And then we charge it with 16 volts off of a stock LS alternator that we trick with diodes in the sensing line to output more. let's see, methanol injection. Undecided if I keep that. I don't know that it's really doing a whole heck of a lot, but may get rid of that. And then surge tank, pressurized, for coolant. That's where the radiator cap goes. I only keep about a third of it filled up, and then the rest is air. And then this is overflow in case something bad happens. It dumps into there. That's it back here. A little more on the rear. So do have a parachute mount that also doubles as a trailer hitch mount. It's all reinforced. One, it ties to the chassis this way, and then you may have seen this before. Should have kept this open. But it also ties into the cage this way. This connects to a bar that's behind here. I couldn't go any lower with this bar because I wanted to keep the floor, but this connects straight into a bar here, and then that bar ties down into that bracing, all triangulated dealio there. This, in case I have to add weight to the back, especially before I went all-wheel drive, it needed weight in the back for no prep stuff, and so this mounts bars and lead plates, or lead bars and weight plates. And that's it. I also have a rack, like a hitch rack, that slides into here. If I don't want to pull a trailer for a race week, drag week style deal, I'll just use that hitch rack and put fuel and tires and stuff back there. Works pretty darn good. All right. As they say, this is where the magic happens. So currently, it's a 5.3 iron block with a K1 stroker setup, so it's about 5.9 liters. And then just, let's see, these are PRC cathedral port small bore heads that have been well worn and on their last leg. So is the block. So this is all coming out. And what's going in its place is a Dart 6-bolt block. So 6 bolts per cylinder for head bolts. And it's going to be 388 cubic inches. So it's a bigger bore, stock stroke, and medium good stuff in it. So it's not the best you can buy, but it's not the worst either. So 388 cubic inch. It'll get 6-bolt heads that are square port LS3 style, and then another BTR intake that matches the square port. So fuel-wise, pretty simple. Bosch 210 injectors, E85, an Aeromotive 7.0 GPM pump in the back, and it's low speed most of the time, and then Fuel Tech triggers it for high speed. So that's that up here. Going to the actual power adder here. So twin turbos, these are twin FP 7275s. And so 72 millimeter compressor, and then 75 on the outlet on the turbine. So these are T4, and then it's pretty simple. It's just flipped stock truck manifolds, and then just welded on into flanges here, and then 3.5 inch out the side, and then some support to keep everything from moving around too much. So that's both sides there. And then what is this? I think a 6-inch thick, 5 or 6 inch thick intercooler, and then custom made end tanks. So it goes in from the bottom and then out the top. Currently the meth injection, it goes into each turbo, around 25 gallons per hour total. Right now, it's just kind of help the intercooler from heat soaking, cooling down those superheated air before it hits the intercooler. So may change that up though, just get rid of it entirely, or change it to mostly water instead of meth, which is what it is now. Let's see, this is from a long time ago. I made that baffled catch can, and it used to fit over here, and now it's just been moved. And that's about it up here. Braking wise, pretty simple. Stock, it's the aftermarket replacement, and then it's all set up on a vacuum pump. So vacuum canister with a vacuum trigger, so it's not constantly running. It only runs when it needs to. Still have power steering, and we'll get underneath the car too. But a lot of stock stuff up here. F-body power steering pump, a stock LS truck alternator that now has a Hoosier pulley to slow that down, because otherwise above 7,000 RPM it shut off. And I even have a 10% underdrive damper. It's all Corvette spacing, keep it all pretty tight. And that's about it there. Steering rack is from a Ford Thunderbird, like 88. And no particular reason, just it fit. All right, so motor's held in with motor plate and a mid plate, and then nothing for the transmission or transfer case. So that's all held in up here. And then the diff actually has a cage built for the diff that bolts to the engine itself. So let's see if I can get underneath it. Not the best view, but we can see the steering rack. We can see what the steering rack bolts to, which is this bar here. Ignore the dangling water pump. I'm getting ready to take everything apart. These plates here bolt to the front diff that's hiding behind the steering rack. So there's a plate on each side, and then everything's built off of that plate. So like the lower control arm here attaches to the plate, same as the other side, and then the plates itself get attached to the frame rail and to the motor. So that keeps the engine, with motor plates, you need to have some front and back protection, because those plates will just bend. They're super strong this way, but not front to back. So the diff mount acts as that, as well as as like a front subframe K-member where the control arms, everything bolts to. Hope that makes sense. I don't have a, you can see a little bit. Let's see. So the diff itself is from a Chevy Colorado or Canyon. And then the axle bars are custom. The inside is stock for a Canyon or Colorado. And then the outside here is non-turbo Mitsubishi 3000 GT hubs. And so then the CV joint on the outside is Mitsubishi with custom axle bars to connect them. Front brakes are stock non-turbo Mitsubishi. In the rear is stock Ford Explorer, because if we connect everything here, we go motor, power glide, racing in the dirt transfer case, Ford 9-inch. And that Ford 9-inch is stock from a 1978 Thunderbird, stock gears, 370 gears, and with a limited slip differential in it. And then, yeah, it's stock width, etc. All right. Any questions? Comment below. All right, as we work our way back, you can see that transfer case right there. So it's a chain drive deal. It's always 4-wheel drive, but I can still do a 2-wheel drive burnout because that front diff has an electric disconnect right there. Right there. And that's on a switch. So it's an axle disconnect, and that diff is an open front diff. So when you disconnect this axle, that is just spinning and no power is being transferred anywhere. Spider gear is just flying. And so I can do a rear wheel drive burnout. I can drive around rear wheel drive with no angry steering, and then just flip the switch that I showed you inside, and then it locks that axle in. Still an open front diff, so if one tire starts to spin, it gets a little wonky, but if you can keep it from spinning, then drives pretty darn good. All right, let's see. Then also going back is aluminum tubes that goes to the rear mounted radiator. So putting the front mount intercooler up front, not a lot of room for radiator, so put it in the back and kind of offset the weight a little bit back here too. All right. So, big radiator. It is about 3 inches thick. We're not using this cap. Flexolite universal fan that all seals up good against here, and it does a really good job cooling the car at idle and low speeds. Not an awesome job cruising down the interstate at or highway at 60, 70, 80, but it works. It doesn't overheat, and then as soon as you slow down, it cools. So there, you probably can't see it, but I did put a little lip in front of the radiator to try to put some air up into there, but that's good as we could do. Suspension underneath, it fits stock style rules because it's basically a bolt-in Ford Mustang 4-link. So short lowers, short uppers, and everything is like bolts into factory subframe, factory location for the coilovers even. So a lot of Mustangs will move everything inboard, but all my stuff is still outboard, which is probably why I get by without having a sway bar. I have had a hard time making it all fit. So I probably can fit an anti-roll bar, like a drag style one, but I haven't actually required it so far. All right. And then they are Ridetech coilovers in the rear, and we just made some plates that bolts into factory location and then bolts to the rear diff, or rear axle. That's the car. I'm sure I'm missing something, so ask questions. Let me know what you guys think, what you hate, what I did wrong. I'm sure there's plenty of you guys could do it better. But this is how I did it, and it's been working, and plan to keep going faster.